In this PPT, we will study about the Diffie-Hellman algorithm. We will first start with the introduction part. So the first point is that it is based on the difficulty of computing discrete logarithms of large numbers. It has no known successful attack strategies. It requires two large numbers. One is a prime number p and the other one is d, a primitive root of p. The Diffie-Hellman key exchange technique was first discovered by Whitfield Diffie and Martin Hellman to provide new directions in cryptography. The Diffie-Hellman DH key exchange technique was first defined in 1976 in their seminal paper. This is a key exchange method of exchanging public, that is non-secret information to obtain a shared secret key. It requires two large numbers. One is a prime number p and the other one is d, a primitive root of p. There is a famous saying by Bruce that states that it's not sufficient to protect ourselves with laws, we need to protect ourselves with mathematics. Now we will see some of the properties of Diffie-Hellman key agreement protocol, and that are the first one is it's an exponential key agreement protocol. It also allows to users to exchange the secret key. It uses a large prime number p, typically of 1024 bits in length, and a primitive element d is used. Now we will see some of the assumptions of Diffie-Hellman key exchange. The first one is that the assumption is that there exists a public key cipher system that has a special property, and the second assumption is that there exists a function, a carefully chosen publicly known function f or fxy that takes two inputs numbers x and y as input, and the function then outputs a third number. This type of function should exist. In this slide we will see the basic principle behind DH, or basically what it does. So for this, let us assume that Alice and Bob are the two parties who wish to communicate securely through a secure channel, or who wish to establish a shared secret or a shared secret key. And for this, let their public and private keys in the public key cipher system be denoted by PA and SAB Alice and PVSB be the Bob's public and private keys respectively. The working principle behind Diffie-Hellman key exchange is as: in the first step, the two parties will exchange their public keys. And here the two parties we assumed as Alice and Bob, so they will exchange their public keys, Alice and Bob. And in the second step, Alice will compute the assumed function using his own private key and the public key of Bob, that is f of SA, PB. And in meanwhile, Bob will also compute the assumed function using his own private key plus the public key of Alice that the Alice just sent to Bob in the first step, and Alice will use that public key of Bob that the Bob just sent to Alice in the first step. So there is a special property of the public key cipher system, and the choice of the function f are such that is, and the property is that the function that the Alice computes and the Bob computes should be equal to each another, and only if this is the case, then only Alice and Bob can only share a secret. This shared secret can easily be converted by some public means into a bit string suitable for use, as for example a D. In this slide we will see the steps of Diffie-Hellman, and that are: the first step is Alice generates a private random value a and will calculate g raised to the power a mod p and will send it to Bob. Meanwhile, Bob generates a private random value b and will calculate g raised to the power b mod p and will send it to Alice. And in the second step, Alice will take the message sent by Bob, that is equal to g raised to the power b mod p, and her private random value a to compute g raised to the power b mod p whole raised to the power a, that is equal to g raised to the power ab mod p. And in the same manner, Bob will take Alice's message, that is equal to g raised to the power a mod p and her private random value b to compute g raised to the power a mod p whole raised to the power b, which is equal to g raised to the power ab mod p. Now both the values computed by Alice and Bob are equal to each other, so we can say that both have generated the symmetric key, that is equal to g raised to the power ab mod p. So Alice and Bob adopt g raised to the power ab mod p as a shared secret key. The symmetric shared key in the Diffie-Hellman protocol is k, which is equal to c raised to the power xy mod p, where x and y are the secret key of the two parties engaged in the communication, or the two parties who are exchanging messages. It's not a public key encryption system, but it can allow A and B to agree on a shared secret in a public channel. In this slide, we will see some more properties, important properties of DHKX. The first one is that the resulting shared secret cannot be computed by either of the parties without the cooperation of the other one. A third party observing all the messages transmitted during key DHKX states cannot reduce the resulting shared secret 1 at the end of the protocol. Users can share information in a way that others can't decipher the flow of information. In this slide, we will see the pictorial representation of whatever we have studied in the previous slides. So, let the left picture be representing Alice and the right picture is representing Bob. So, Alice will pick her random secret as X, and Bob will pick her random secret as Y. Now, Alice will compute and send g raised to the power a mod p to Bob, and Bob will calculate, compute and send g raised to the power b mod p to Alice. Now, Alice will compute the symmetric key value as Bob's message raised to the power Alice private key. What is a Bob message? Whatever the Bob has sent to Alice will be used by Alice to compute the value of symmetric key value. So, g raised to the power b mod p raised to the power a, which is equal to enter g raised to the power ab mod p. Now, Bob will get Alice message and will compute the keys value, symmetric keys value in the same manner as Alice does. So, it will be equal to g raised to the power a mod p whole raised to the power b. That is equal to Alice's message to raised to the power Bob's private key, and which in turn will be equal to g raised to the power a mod p whole raised to the power b, which is equal to g raised to the power ab mod p in turn. So, we can see that the symmetric key value computed by Alice and Bob are equal to each other. So, the symmetric key in this example is equal to g raised to the power a b mod p. In this slide, we will study an example to understand better the procedure of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. But remember, in this example, we are using small numbers, but in real actual situations, the numbers are very large. So, in this example, we are assuming that G is equal to 7 and P is equal to 23. So, the steps are as follows: that the Alice will choose her secret key, her private key as x equal to 3, and Bob will choose her private key as 6, which is denoted by 7 by y. And Alice will calculate R1, that will be equal to g raised to the power x mod p, and after substituting these values, we'll get 7 raised to the power 3 mod 23, which is equal to 21. And in the same manner, Bob will calculate R2, which is equal to g raised to the power y mod p, that is equal to 7 raised to the power 6 mod 23, which is equal to 4. Now, Alice and Bob will exchange these messages. So, Alice will send number 21 to Bob, and Bob will send 4 number to Alice. So, now Alice will calculate the symmetric key. And remember, what is the formula of calculating symmetric key? Is the message that the Alice will get from Bob, 4 raised to the power her own private key mod p. So, in this case, the message that Alice got from Bob is 7 raised to the power 6 mod 23, that is equal to 4. The formula we use here is d raised to the power y mod p. So, here 4 raised to the power 3 mod 23, which is equal to 18, is the value that that Alice calculated, and now Bob will calculate the value of the symmetric key k, which is equal to 21 raised to the power 6 mod 23, which is equal to 18. 21 here is the message that Alice sent to Bob in the first step after calculating the value of R1. So, both the values are equal. So, 18 is the shared key. Now the value of k is same for the both, is the same for both Elias and Bob. So the shared secret key value is 18. So now we will see some attacks in Deffie-Hellman algorithm. The Deffie-Hellman key exchange is susceptible to two attacks. These two attacks are discrete logarithm and the man in the middle attack. In this slide we will study the discrete logarithm attack. For this, let us assume that there is a third party between the two parties who are expecting to exchange the messages, who are expecting to communicate with each other, and we assuming that that third party is Eve here. So if Eve can interpret both the messages, that is g raised to the power a mod p and g raised to the power b mod p, then she can easily find a and b, the secrets of two parties, and then she can then calculate the symmetric key very easily. Only then if she can intercept both the messages. So to make it safe from this attack, the following steps can be followed, and the steps are that first, the prime number that is chosen must be very large, and the prime number must be chosen such that the p minus 1 has at least one large prime factor. The generator must be chosen from the group the zp star comma x, and also the two parties must destroy their secrets, their private key or their private random value x and y respectively, after they have calculated the symmetric key. These values must be used only for once. In this slide we will discuss about the man in the middle attack. For this attack, the third party or Eve does not need to know the shared key to find the value of the private keys of the two parties. Here we are assuming that the two parties are Elias and Bob, and the intruder, who intercepts the messages or who will fool the two parties, is assumed as Eve, who is between the two parties Elias and Bob. She can easily find the values of the private keys or the secret keys of Elias and Bob, the two parties engaged in the communication, who are exchanging the messages without knowing the shared key value. So she can fool them by creating two keys on her own, and she can use one of those keys between herself and Elias, and the second key can be used between herself and Bob. So the first step, the steps that can be that lead to this attack are as follows. The first step is that Elias will choose x as a private key and will calculate r1. That will be equal to g raised to the power x mod p, and will send r1 to Bob. But E is between Elias and Bob, so Eve, the intruder, will intercept r1. Then she will also choose her private key, her secret key, as z, and will calculate r2 as which will be equal to g raised to the power x mod p, and will send r2 to both Elias and Bob. Now Bob will choose y as a secret and will calculate r3 in the same manner as Elias and Eve did. So R3 is equal to g raised to the power b, because g raised to the power y, as y was her secret, y is her secret, and so R3 is equal to g raised to the power y mod p, and will send R3 to Elias. So R3 will also be intercepted by Eve and will never reach to Elias, just like R1 will never reach to Bob. So Elias and Eve will calculate K1, which will be equal to g raised to the power x z mod p, and which will become the shared secret key between Elias and Eve. But what will Elias think? Elias will think that this is a shared secret key between Bob and herself, but actually this is a shared secret key between Bob and Eve, not between Elias and Eve, and not between Elias and Bob. And in the same manner, Eve and Bob will calculate K2, which will be equal to g raised to the power AB mod P, which becomes a shared secret key between Eve and Bob. And Bob will also think that it's a shared secret key between Elias and Bob, but actually it's a key between Bob and Eve. So in this manner, the third party, which is Eve in our example, can fool the two parties which are in this slide. We will see some of its applications. So the Deffie-Hellman currently is being used in many protocols, namely Secure Sockets Layer (SSL) or Transport Layer Security (TLS), Secure Shield (SSH), Internet Protocol Security (IPsec), Public Key Infrastructure (PKI). Thank you so much. That's all about Deffie-Hellman Key Exchange. Hope you liked it.